What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about the UK pub crisis. So, this is where I start to feel, as an American, that I'm just out of the loop. This is not something I've heard anything about here in the United States. What exactly is going on in the UK? There's a pub crisis? What does that mean exactly? Like a crisis, like there's not enough beer or something? I don't know. But today, I want to check out this video by TLDR News and find out what exactly is going on here. So let's take a look.
If you live in the UK, you'll know that, sadly, you don't have to walk very far to come across a boarded-up pub.
Oh.
In the past few years following the COVID-19 pandemic, the rate of pub closures has accelerated, driven by the cost of living crisis, higher rents, and a slowdown in socialising.
Whoa. What? I did not know about this. This is sad. This is depressing. Pubs are closing down? No, I didn't know anything about this. Look at this. They're just boarded up with graffiti. Wow. Ever since the pandemic started? Cost of living crisis, higher rent. Yeah, that'll do it. Less socializing. What's with the less socializing? I mean, I almost want to say that's a phenomenon that might be happening here in the United States. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just socializing less. Anyway, interesting. So this is like a big phenomenon happening in the UK. And pubs are closing.
In fact, at the end of 2024, the total number of pubs across England and Wales had fallen below 39,000 for the first time since records began.
Still, I don't know if I guess that's low. For me, it's like, wow, that's a lot of pubs. Oh my God. But it's true. Like, the pub is such a iconic staple of British culture. And it's something that we've never been able to replicate or have here in America. And I don't know. It's sad to me that this is even a story. So you're under 39,000 pubs.
With at least 34 pubs shutting every month in 2024 on average.
Wow.
That's more than one per day.
Wow.
Already in the first 3 months of 2025, according to the Campaign for Real Ale, 303 pubs across England, Scotland and Wales have shut, with this number expected to rise further due to changes to the government's budget effective from April.
Changes in the budget? What, like the pub budget? The National Pub Fund or something? No, I'm sure there's things that are affecting pubs as a business or alcohol. I don't know. I guess if you live in the UK, have you noticed pubs closing down and going out of business? Like maybe your local pub, maybe one of your favorite pubs have closed down if you live in the UK and you know about this. Wow.
It's not just pubs either. Brewers, cafes, local nightclubs and restaurants are all suffering from the crisis facing the UK's hospitality industry.
Oh.
So, in this video, we'll take a look at the UK's pubs crisis, why it's getting worse, and whether they can be saved.
No kidding, it could be getting worse. It might not be able to get saved.
First, though, let's start with some historical context.
Okay.
Pubs have existed in the UK for hundreds of years, since at least the 17th century,
Yeah.
when so-called coaching inns acted as hubs for travellers and locals, providing food, drink and accommodation.
This is a part of UK history here. Honestly, I've never been to the UK. I've never been to a real pub. So I don't exactly know what I'm missing out on. But even as an American, vicariously, I feel sad for you. Because pubs, although most Americans, we don't really understand them, they're cool. They're cool and they're super British and it's like a part of your culture. And to hear that it's just kind of going away, or at least it's not gone. It's not like they're all gone. It's declining, though. It's in danger. The beer, the alcohol, the drunkenness is in danger. But seriously.
Then, in 1830, the Beer House Act, which was repealed in 1993, made beer cheaper and more accessible, effectively allowing anyone with a dwelling to sell alcohol as long as they paid an annual license.
Okay.
This resulted in tens of thousands of new establishments, particularly in the rapidly industrializing north of England.
Is that why pubs are a thing in the UK and not a thing in America? You guys had this act passed hundreds of years ago, which allowed people to serve alcohol and beer out of their homes and create like the pubs everywhere, almost out of their houses. Is that why did that act? Is that what caused it to become such a big thing in the UK and not in America? Is that what it is?
With many pubs choosing to honour William IV, the governing monarch at the time, in their name. For the past 200 or so years, pubs have been a central part of British culture, representing the history and identity of local villages, towns, and cities. British pubs are renowned across the world for their iconic naming practices, their painted signs, often featuring heraldic imagery like coats of arms, and also their cosy interiors, including wood paneling, timber ceilings, leather sofas with brass details, bar stools, and various historical maps, sketches, and photos of the local area often adorning the walls.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure if you're British, you have an attachment to pubs. For Americans, they're like this cool thing we know about from films and movies and TV. And we're like, almost think that they're fantasy. And we're like, wow, that'd be cool to go into a pub.
However, in recent decades, a pubs crisis has emerged. According to a 2014 report by the Institute of Economic Affairs, in 1969 there were approximately 75,000 pubs in the UK. But by 1980, this had fallen to 69,000. By 2003 to under 60,000, and by 2013 to under 48,000. As we mentioned earlier, today in England and Wales, that number sits below 39,000.
So this has been happening for a while. It's been in a downtrend for many years, since the 60s. I see. So this has been a very slow, gradual, but consistent decline year after year.
And will likely continue falling. Pubs have largely suffered because of competition from supermarkets, which can sell alcohol much more cheaply than pubs, because they can squeeze brewers' margins and also sell alcohol at a loss to attract customers. In fact, while the price of beer at a pub or bar has risen significantly faster than inflation in recent decades, the price of beer off sales, i.e. from supermarkets and off licenses, has risen more slowly than inflation.
Well, what the heck? What's that? Wait. So the price of a beer at a pub it's going up faster than inflation in the UK. That means the price of beer in a pub is like kind of unreasonably expensive. They could lower it a bit to just match the pace of inflation. I mean, I know pubs have to make a profit. Of course, they're business, but maybe they gotta lower their prices a little bit.
This has caused pint prices to soar. In 1987, the average pint at a UK pub cost just 92p, but by 2024, it had surged to a national average of £4.79.
Wait a minute. What the heck? This is less than 40 years. Less than 40 years? And the price has, gone up over 5 times? What the heck? And this same phenomenon has happened in the United States for a lot of stuff. Like, it's just when you actually sit down and look at some stats and data, it's like, wait, the price of a pint of beer was 5 times cheaper only 40 years ago.
It's even higher in the capital at £5.59. Apparently, although as a London-based office, we're pretty sure it's higher than this. Anyway, this has all contributed to fewer people being able to afford a pub trip, and fewer customers increases financial pressure on pubs.
Right.
The pubs crisis was also exacerbated by the pandemic. Pubs were forced to close for months under strict social distancing rules.
Yeah, a lot of businesses suffered during the pandemic. If pubs were already struggling, and then they had to shut down for the pandemic, I mean, This is all starting to make sense, why this is happening and why this is becoming such a problem.
with some failing to reopen at all.
Yeah.
While some pubs managed to get around the rules by serving a substantial meal with their alcohol, even if that was just a Scotch egg, social trends changed as people got used to staying at home and not going out to socialise at the pub.
Right.
Then in 2022, as energy costs and inflation soared after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, already struggling pubs were further hit, and fewer people could afford paying for a pint, leading to hundreds of pubs closing permanently. This trend continued throughout 2023 and 2024.
Wow.
In February this year, businessman Sacha Lord, Greater Manchester's former nighttime economy advisor who originally endorsed Labour's campaign, wrote a letter to UK Chancellor Rachel Reeves, arguing that he was reconsidering his position as the hospitality sector faces, quote, irreversible damage.
That's what it really seems like. It's not just pubs either. It's the entire hospitality sector in the UK. They're arguing that people in the UK, like your habits, have been rewired since the pandemic. Is there any truth to that? That people in the UK just aren't even going out, not even wanting to go to the pub anymore? It doesn't even matter what the price of the beer is. You're just less inclined to go out in general. Is that true?
He also claimed the government's 2025 to 26 budget will cripple businesses across the sector, and that its new tax implications will push many small and independent operators to breaking point. A quick online search shows a series of recent local newspaper stories about pub closures,
Wow.
with publicans increasingly concerned about rising costs, including higher employer national insurance contributions and a rise in the national minimum wage. As a result, some pubs are closing early, while others are closing down.
Wow.
So the big question is this a death sentence for British pubs, or can they be saved?
Can they be saved? Can they be saved? I don't know. It's like you got to change people's mindset about going out, or you have to lower prices somehow. Isn't that kind of the only ways?
Well, one thing that could potentially help is the UK government's planned reforms to the business rate system, which we'll come back to in a moment.
Okay.
But right now, pubs are facing a significant decline in financial support from the government, with Reeves having cut the rate of business relief for the hospitality sector from 75% to 40% in the 2025-26 budget.
I'm not sure what that means exactly, the rate of business relief. I don't know if this has something to do with taxes, how much taxes the pubs are having to pay. I don't know.
This means that, as of the 1st of April, retail, hospitality and leisure businesses, like pubs, in properties with a rateable value, i.e. an estimated worth, of under £500,000 can get 40%, rather than the previous 75%, off their business rates bills for the 2025 to 26 tax year, up to a £110,000 cap.
I see.
However, the government says this is a temporary measure until 2026 to 27, when they plan to permanently lower tax rates for hospitality properties. This will likely be funded by a higher multiplier on businesses worth over £500,000, including most large infrastructure businesses and warehouses, like those used by online distributors, in line with Labour's manifesto pledge to support the high street.
So the UK government isn't doing anything really to help. If anything, it's exacerbating this problem by continuing to lower the tax break that pubs get when the pub is worth under 500,000 or something.
For context, their 2024 election manifesto said that the current business rate system places an undue burden on our high streets and contains a pledge to reform it to level the playing field between the high street and online giants.
High street. I'm not familiar with this term, high street. I'm not sure what that means.
Better incentivize investment, tackle empty properties, and support entrepreneurship. This would hopefully mean lower tax rates for pubs, supported by higher rates on big online warehouses, although it could also affect big anchor tenant businesses worth over £500,000 in town centres, like bigger pubs or those in highly valued historical buildings. But it's unclear whether these future changes to the UK's business rate system will come quick enough to save local pubs. There are other societal trends, including young people going out less, a fall in alcohol consumption, rapid urbanisation, and a shift towards non-alcohol-based activities.
Oh boy, I mean, the only reason pubs were so huge in the UK was because pubs were a big part of British culture. It's like something you wanted to do. And if that's changing, especially with young people, don't want to go out, don't want to even drink alcohol, I'm not sure there's much you can do about this. The time of the pub might have had its bright, shining moment in history, and maybe, I was gonna say naturally it's just kind of fading away, almost like a fad. But I don't know. It sounds like this has been happening since almost 40 years ago. So yeah, it just seems like the people of the UK have spoken, like, not verbally, but with what you choose to spend your money on and what you choose to do. If over the course of 40 years, pub activity is just going down and pub popularity is just going down. Now, the prices have been increasing as well, the cost of beer, which doesn't help. But all these things put together, it's like, I'm not sure if there's anything to be done.
Plus, people generally spending more time alone and online, which are also putting community
Yeah, spending time online, watching YouTube videos.
strongholds like pubs at risk of closure. So, if we want to save them, it might take more than just the government. If you can, maybe consider spending a bit of time in your local this Easter weekend and help preserve an important part of the community, at least for a bit longer.
I don't know what I think about that. It's like, sometimes in your local area in America, people are like, support local businesses. Go out and buy a bagel or a muffin from this small bakery. And it's like, same thing with these pubs. If you have to be told to go visit your pub, if you have to be told to go and buy a beer, that business is not doing well. It's not sustainable. It can't operate based on people being told to go to it. Like, people have to want it. There has to be a demand, Know what I mean? So it sounds like pubs are just dying because younger people don't really care for them.
Regardless, in 2025, one thing is certain. We can expect the news cycle to continue being dominated.
Oh, I think that's it. I think the rest is just an ad. Fascinating. Yeah, this is something I didn't realize was such a crisis going on in the UK. Depends on how you kind of look at it, though. If you don't care for pubs, if you're one of the people in the UK, a growing number of people who don't really care for alcohol or go into a pub or the high prices, this isn't a crisis for you. It's just like the natural consequence of pubs losing popularity. But on the other hand, part of me is like, this is sad because this is such a big, cool part of British culture, the pub. So that it is sad, but I'm not sure what's going to happen. I didn't even know about this, but it's real fascinating to learn about. I didn't even know this was a thing. Wow. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. If you're from the UK, please leave a comment with your thoughts on pubs, the pubs crisis. If you think pubs need to be saved, if you don't care about this, if you don't go to pubs anymore, or any of your thoughts, that'd be really interesting to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to the UK and learning about UK culture and seeing things from the UK I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.